So, Eric, welcome to our Artisan Dialogue channel. Nice to see you again.
You too. So great to be back here again.
It's great. So, if we're talking about 10 pillars that we've created, um, maybe we can go in a certain kind of chronological order and start with the first, the informational. And that basically provides a platform to explain art and the process of making different visual compositions. So why don't you kind of um, run with that one first, and I'll join in after.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you for reading that, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you.
Um, well, we've discussed earlier about how uh, making art, there's two ways we could look at it. You have both the person who's more of a hobbyist, and you have someone who is more of a strives to be a professional artist. Does devotes a lot more time to study and uh, discussion around art styles, individual artists, different art philosophies, and I think you and I are more in the professional artist type category. And a big part of that we've both found is that the more we've made art, the more we realize that we find that we are playing while we are making art, and it involves a lot of different aspects. Uh, is it childlike? Not really, I don't think. No, but it is a uh, similar to way a child might play, uh, but I don't know if you want to riff off that a little, Stephen.
Sure. Um, I think that I've always, when I was starting out in the art world, and I was a student of the art classes, there was always this initial anxiety when approaching a work of art um, using uh, pencils, charcoal, even when the acrylics came out, and oil paints were still the basic go-to medium. Um, a certain kind of insecurity that I had that said things that I was trying to visualize with my materials, it had to be perfect. It had to be exactly right. And I think that what happens as one in the arts, like you or I, become much more comfortable with our materials, with the experience of bringing um, different types of works on paper, on canvas. Um, when we bring them out and have them visualized on canvas or on paper, you realize that a very important process, a very important aspect of process in learning how to create is improvising. And improvisation takes you away from uh, the pressure and the concern of making a mistake. And I think that as we become more comfortable with the act of creation, um, the idea of making a mistake isn't a mistake anymore. It becomes a challenge. It becomes a calling, an inner calling that says, so where are you going now? What are you going to try to do with the primary colors, with the secondary colors? How are you going to balance out the color that you have uh, on your canvas or on a very, very good piece of paper that accepts India ink or acrylic paints or gouache? And how do you basically turn what you think isn't working as well as it could be into something that becomes an advantage? And so what happens is that we use the challenge as a jumping off point to learn how to, in a very, very playful way, using the word playful, we find a way to find different options, uh, different possibilities to create the colors, to create the shading, to create the balance, to create the harmony in a work of art. And the whole act of learning to play basically takes away the pressure. It alleviates the pressure from having to make it just perfect. Of course, in the back of your mind, as a creative human being, as an artist, as a maker of art, you would like to have something come out well. That's not to be denied. What is different is that every time we're involved in that dance of playing, we are basically adjusting and making adjustments and learning how to trust your judgment and learning how to trust your ability to go beyond what you think isn't working, to have the opportunity to create a stronger form, more contrast, better balance with the colors. And so those moments of the challenge and the play have the remarkable ability to accentuate the strengths of that particular composition. So, how do you feel about that, Eric?
I think that's remarkable the way you were able to put that into words, Stephen. As you were talking, I was thinking to myself, I picture myself standing in front of a canvas, first of all, a blank canvas, and then starting to make a few marks on the canvas. And as you so eloquently put, you're asking yourself along the way what you're going to include, what you're going to uh, exclude, what color you're going to pick, how you're going to balance something out, and kind of questioning all the way along. Uh, and the overarching theme is to kind of go with the whole process. You're not fighting it, but you're open to possibilities, and you uh, don't see a mark here or there as a mistake. Um, Although I have to say that while I'm working on the canvas, many times I'll start out and I'll say, "Wow, this is just not going to turn out to be anything." It's not going where I think it should go or might go. And but then I do go back. I take back the mindset of be open to this, see where it goes, and just keep going. And um, something that looks like might be a mistake, you may emphasize or uh,
Good point.
duplicate in a different area of the canvas. But it's a whole process of adjusting as you go along. And there's something on the inside because you were speaking, I was asking myself, what is really guiding me, what in these decisions? And it seems to be two things. Um, I think there's a divine influence, but as long as I'm open to that. But I think there's also a sense that over time, as someone who's trying to do these types of artworks, is that you have an interior sense of what how an artwork can develop and come to a fruitful end. But early on, I used to tear stuff up. I used to say, I don't like that. Just take a canvas and throw it aside, put a hole in it, almost violently. But as time goes on, I don't do that anymore. I might set it aside, come back to it. But it's, or paint over it. Now I often will paint over something. I don't think it's complete. The image doesn't really speak to me, so I'll paint over it. But it is a whole process that I think I developed. I looking at your work, I know that you've developed that you kind of instinctually follow, and it is much more of a um, playful kind of approach, because any other approach pretty much doomed to failure. Uh, I know Salvador Dali said, "Don't aim for perfection because perfection doesn't exist anyway."
Mhm.
But I used to really aim for that when I was younger. I mean, I thought to myself, yeah, this has got to be perfect. Um, and holding up something in my mind of what I thought perfect was,
Mhm.
but never really able to attain it. And then as time went on, uh, adopting a much more experimental type of mindset, and how the images used to come out so much better with that type of approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but I think the discussion of this is really very helpful.
No, it is. It really is. It kind of crystallizes. I'm going to use a word interchangeably. I see process as a journey. It's you embark on a certain trip, um, a journey with yourself. And I do remember that in the initial introduction to the arts, when the teacher would say, well, you're starting with a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper, that used to sound intimidating.
100%.
Yeah, because you were expected to fill it up,
Yeah.
and to do something with a blank surface, as opposed to seeing it again as the challenge to kind of contemplate, to kind of fantasize, to kind of explore what options we have every time we are confronted with a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper. Where do you start? Do you start from the top, the bottom, the sides? Uh, how do you start? And I
Mhm.
think that that starting process, um, once you've overcome the expectation, which can create the pressure, it's
Mhm.
exactly what you said. If it has to be in a certain way and it doesn't, and or you're not able to adapt and to be flexible enough to use the change of direction to your advantage, then it becomes a frustration. And when I hear you say, Eric, that you used to put a hole in a canvas, if you were doing that basically in the 50s and 60s, I'd probably get a, I could get a bank loan from you for about $1 million, because there was a very well-known artist in the 70s and 80s called Lucio Fontana.
I
And his,
know him. I
yes,
know. But go ahead.
his canvas surface is full of punctured holes.
Yes.
So you were on the right track of thinking of maybe becoming a millionaire as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is odd to see his uh, canvases that way. It's almost like, and I think you exhibited with this man who used to paint his canvases practically all black.
His name was Ad Reinhardt.
Yes.
Yes, and I used to see him walk in the art department where I was taking classes and at some point also teaching there. But I saw him, and it didn't cross my mind to go and to ask him for his autograph. He was, had I done that, I probably would have maybe been in a better position than I am now. But he was just a colleague, he was just a teacher.
Mhm.
And I became aware of him when he had a very well known exhibition, I think, in the Museum of Modern Art. He was also exhibiting in the Jewish Museum in New York City, but he became one of the artists who did something which exactly um, fulfilling the criteria for our initial pillar